the best on the track. Like one right on the stage. Would it be enough for your supporters last? Would it have to ease the pain? Ease the day. It's like a deep down deep in the deep. When a match right at the death. Would it satisfy you? Would it satisfy you? Would you think the boys the best? Ease the day. I said I know it's only Speedway, but I like it. Hey, I know it's only Speedway, but I like it. Yes I do. I like it. Hey, I like it. Oh, I like it. Can't you see this old boy has been riding? Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What do you need to know? Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Michael, Matt, and Chris are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
The Brummies steamroller continues, 2 matches away and 2 big wins. Stoke and Rye House the latest to feel the red and yellow heat. And in the week that Liverpool City show us the true meaning of solidarity that lasted 27 years and was never broken, Poole Speedway take a different route. I think it's safe to say that Davey Watt doesn't feel any solidarity as he is sacked a month into the season by the juggernaut that is the Pirates. Only in Speedway. Well, good evening, gentlemen. In the studio tonight we have Matt Buck.
Good evening.
We have got Webby.
Evening.
Or are we calling you Chris now because you're going all posh, haven't you? You've had a shave today.
But just for the for me interview with the Daily Mail, you see, so I
Oh, okay. You had an interview with the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about that in a moment. What was that about?
I'm not going to tell you.
Yes, you are.
Oh, it's about the coffin that's standing behind me.
Oh, okay.
Looking at me.
Would you like to describe this coffin?
Do I have to?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Does
cloud
he have
blue,
to?
and it's got a badge on that says unprepared.
Fair enough.
That's the only
And
bit that's right about it.
is there any truth in the rumour that it's going to be repainted green and white?
No truth whatsoever.
Well, it should be. And also in the studio tonight we have one Joseph Harris.
I didn't think I was here for a moment there.
No.
Hang on, sorry again, 'cause I'll turn your mic on this time.
So you wasn't here. You actually wasn't here. That was perfect. What can I say?
You can't get the stuff anymore, can you? So,
Okay, so before we start talking all Speedway related news, I'd just like to tell you guys out there that we need your input tonight. Whatever you've got to say, whatever you want to talk about, put it up on the shout box. There's also a Twitter feed, is there not?
Yeah, Sports Radio 1.
And there's also a Facebook. feed?
Sports Radio 1.
And is there anything else?
There's Speedway UK on Twitter,
Okay.
at Speedway UK, or at Brummy Speedway.
Okay, and Chris will do some typing in a
I'll find
minute
it.
and shove that up on the shout box as well.
Okay.
So, first of all, Matt, what's been happening Wolverhampton-wise?
Out.
Okay, that was
Next
good.
question.
Next question.
Can we go home now? Yeah. Oh, I'm home.
So, next question, Matt. What's been happening Cradley-wise?
One meeting
Okay.
since their big defeat against Birmingham last week, or the week
Can we
before,
just say that again? Since they're...
Big defeat against
Thank you very
Birmingham.
much.
Yep, of course they had Kings Lynn on Monday night at Monmouth Green. Won the meeting fairly comfortably. By all accounts, I mean I wasn't there, but by all accounts it wasn't a particularly good crowd. Now that might have been due to the
Well, it had been
weather.
rescheduled from Monday to Tuesday, hadn't it? Is
No,
that
it was
right?
on Monday.
It was on the Monday.
It was on the
okay.
Monday, yeah.
Okay.
Might be
Do I
due to
know?
the poor weather. Might be, I don't know, due to Kings Lynn not being maybe the most attractive of opposition. But yeah, that's got to be a bit of a concern for Cradley because they've had a bit of a uncertain start to the season, really, haven't they?
And I think they felt that their crowds last year weren't as good as they've had previously. Would I be right in saying that?
Well, in fairness, last year, of course, they were at a different track, which a lot of them weren't too happy with. It was, but I think it's fair to say that Cradley did want to go back to Monmouth Green where they had bigger crowds. It's easy to get to from Cradley into Wolverhampton. Yeah, but they've not had a. It seems strange they won most of the meetings, to be able to say this, but they've had a iffy start to the season, and I think there's still a bit of a fallout from that defeat against Birmingham. I think not just the defeat, I think the manner of the defeat
manner
as well.
of the defeat, yeah. I mean, you called that right. You said it was going to be a big win.
No, I
for
said
Birmingham.
14 points, which I think was quite generous.
And I wasn't so sure, but it was, by all manner of reckoning, it was quite a hefty win for Birmingham.
Well, I said last week that isn't a championship winning team, and I haven't seen anything to change that.
I mean, I guess Cradley fans can see the writing on the wall because there are three teams probably at the moment that are at much of a muchness, maybe, which is Eastbourne, Kent, and Birmingham. I think, but Cradley don't fit. But can they get that fourth spot? Is there anything else?
Well, there's no reason why they can't get the fourth spot. I think Rye House are going to be there or thereabouts. One or two other teams, maybe Milden or maybe Coventry, that can start performing a bit better. But I think you would put Cradley as the favourites to get that fourth place. I mean, it's easy to forget Cradley have dominated that league for a long time.
Of course.
And with the advent of Birmingham coming in, Eastbourne coming in, Kent having a good start to the season as well, it's like really they've been knocked off the pedestal a little bit, and they don't like it.
Well, no, they're no longer the biggest
This is
team
it.
in the league, are they?
Well, that's right. I mean, it happened before. When they dominated the 80s by and large, and then clubs like Wolverhampton and Reading came in the 90s and did the same thing, and they didn't like it. So it's something. When you've been used to winning pretty much everything in sight, then you have a season where you don't. It's something that you don't like when you're not used to it.
Possibly 2 seasons.
Possibly 2 seasons. Yeah, I don't see this Cradley team unless they make changes. I don't think, as I say, it's not a championship winning team.
No,
It's a playoff team, but not a championship team.
but there is room for changes there. There are changes that could be made, aren't there? I mean,
Well, they definitely need to strengthen the bottom end of that team.
yeah. So,
Because I said before the Birmingham match, I didn't see in that meeting where Cradley were going to get any heat advantages other than possibly 13 and 15. But
and they didn't even manage that, did they?
By that stage of the meeting, you can't go into meetings just hoping to get heat advantage in 13 and 15, and that'll swing it for you.
Yeah, I think you say that, but we sort of did that all season last year because we had a very top-heavy team, maybe even more top-heavy than the Cradley team.
Yeah, maybe there is something. Maybe there is something in that, but
I think that the difference is that this year there are more teams that are on a par with how Eastbourne were made up last year, and we're honest, Eastbourne were a better team.
Well, look, I mean,
than
I look at the Birmingham team from last season, and they did have a strong top end, but every single meeting you can pinpoint to at least one rider who stepped up to the plate.
Yes,
and that was what swung the meeting for them.
Yeah,
I don't see that with Gradley this season.
Okay.
I think that's the difference.
I think without that hidden gem that is Zach, it wouldn't have gone anywhere near as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, that was the big bonus for us, is we had two big heat leaders, and then we ended up with three almost overnight. And we're sort of doing the same again this year with Jack Parkinson Blackburn as well. So it's all good stuff. It's all about signing the right riders. Right, so okay, I guess we'd better move.
Can I just say before you do move on?
Of course you
I've
can.
just had a bid for £112 for my coffin.
£112.
Yeah, which takes the total with the money we raised to £262, I thought.
Okay, and is this money
We're going to Birmingham Children's Hospital.
Birmingham
So,
Children's
yeah.
Hospital? There you go. So maybe we can put a link to. You've got some photos on
Yeah,
the site, so we'll
absolutely.
put a link on for people to see that if you want to
Okay.
join in with the bidding.
Yeah.
I just soon like to get it out of this place as quick as
I've had
possible.
enough of it now as well, yeah.
You've had enough of this.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey ho. Right, so before we talk about Birmingham, and I'll ask you the question that I asked you last week, was can you see anybody actually beating Birmingham this year? After we're two fairly decent results away from home. I'd like people's opinions on the Davy Watt situation. So this is because I'm a bit undecided. I can sort of see both sides. I can certainly see why Davy Watt's why he's not happy. You're never going to be happy when you've been sacked. So we have this situation where Paul are steamrolling most teams. They've had a couple of losses. Coventry,
They've lost Lakeside, they lost to, and of course they lost against Coventry last Friday.
So, but they're situated well towards the top of the league, aren't they? And you can't really see anybody challenging for that. I wouldn't have thought. Injuries obviously may change that. But Davy Watt wasn't scoring as many points as his average. But I think he was having a bad season so far, basically. And so Matt Ford decided that before he gets his new average, which are obviously going to be lower than this, he's got the chance to replace him, and brought in our old friend Bjarne Pedersen. We're only a month into the season. Do we think this is a bit too ruthless or too early, or what's people's opinions on this? Bear in mind that Davy Watts has ridden for Paul for a number of seasons. I believe I read somewhere that he's won 6 titles with them. Where is that solidarity? Where is that loyalty? Your opinion?
Well, again, I mean, I can see both ends of the story, to be honest, because Paul want to win the league. Nothing wrong with that. They obviously feel Davy Watt, who has had a poor start to the season, he didn't have the best of seasons last year, in my opinion at least.
Okay.
I can, to a point, I can understand it. It wasn't an element of ruthlessness about it, and I can understand why Davy Watt's not happy, mainly because it's loss of earnings for him, because he isn't going to be getting as many meetings. I think the big surprise for me is not so much letting Davy Watt go; it's who they've brought in to replace him, because Bjarne Pedersen has not been particularly impressive for Leicester last season.
No.
The Brummies in 2013.
That's an understatement.
Obviously he's got a tremendous record at Paul, but it's about 10 years since he last rode for them. About 10 years.
Right.
And I don't see how he's going to get that sort of form back. I think it's the wrong move. I think they would have been better off sticking with Davy Watt. That's looking at it from the side of winning the league. Or carrying on performing.
So it could come back and bite them on the foot.
Well, they could do. I mean, it's happened before with teams. They've sort of left it too long to make changes, and then it's bitten them. So I suppose they don't really want to take any chances, because Paul Speedway, at the end of the day, whether you like them or not, I mean, a lot of people criticise Paul, myself included. I've been guilty of criticising Paul, but at the end of the day, I don't really blame Paul. I blame the system for allowing them to do it.
I totally agree with you on that.
If they want to take advantage of it at the end of the day, and that's their prerogative to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you do as a manager, isn't it? You look for how to make the rules work for you, and how you can use them to your advantage, because you don't want to use them to your disadvantage. So I guess the criticism has been levelled at it's not a level playing field, that they have got all these assets and all these contacts and all the advantages that they've got, which basically means they get first shot at all the good riders and so on. But I guess the counter argument is, well, so what? If you want the same advantages, do the same work, do the same things, so it's damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Events put Paul in a position though that they can afford to do these things, whereas a lot of other clubs in there they probably can't.
No.
And they are an attractive proposition. I mean, if you ask most riders outside of we're not riding in the UK, if there's one club in the elite that they'd want to ride for, I would imagine that 9 out of 10 of them would say Paul Pirates.
Yeah. Certainly wouldn't say Lakeside.
Or Leicester.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, that's.
I think that seems to be the problem with Leicester, to be honest. But that's another story.
Oh, Leicester in the wrong league.
I don't think it's necessarily that they're in the wrong league. I just think,
given that they seem to be set on racing on a Saturday, which clashes with your
they are in an unfortunate position. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like going back to the old days.
What's the reason they do it on Saturday?
That's just their chosen night.
That's what. Yeah,
I feel
they feel they get.
It is nostalgic going to Speedway and watching it on a Saturday night, because I mean that always used to be the main night for Speedway in this country.
Never at Birmingham, so it's sort of here. It doesn't feel that way.
Birmingham, obviously, Cradley and Coventry both rode on Saturday for many years. Bradford as well, years ago. I don't know whether they're in the wrong league. I don't think it's necessarily that they're in the wrong league. I just think that I think there's fundamental problems at Leicester that stretch beyond the riders, to be honest. They haven't got a particularly good reputation with a lot of people. I know that there's been a big turnover of staff.
Okay, yeah, I've heard,
at that Speedway club for a long time. It's unfortunate, because I think that was such a fantastic opportunity that they got to bring Speedway back into Leicester, and I think you could argue in some ways it's been wasted. I
think so. I mean, they had the opportunity that Birmingham would have killed for.
Yeah, purpose-built arena, their own arena. There's a lot of land around in that venue,
right?
And I think probably a lot of it could have been planned a little bit better.
Right.
There's obviously been a lot of criticism with the track. I think it's, because in how long the straights are, I think the bends are far too tight. It's got no banking at all, so there's no outside line.
So it's a little bit like Newcastle seems to be.
Newcastle. I've not been to Newcastle, but from the footage I've seen from Newcastle, it can be a little bit like that.
It's very long straights and very sharp turns.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, really, as I say, because it could have been something really special that they could have done at Leicester. I think probably one of the main reasons they moved a bit to the top flight was because Coventry were there. Now it'll be interesting to see whether they stay if Coventry don't reopen next season.
Yeah,
which obviously, of course, we hope they do. But
yeah, absolutely, because we need to have somebody to not like. I mean, that's the essence of sport, isn't it? You know, it's those rivalries.
There's got to be some sort of tribal.
I mean, the difference between Speedway and other tribal rivalries, with the possible exception of Cradley, I've been made to believe, is that you go into the bar with the same people that you've just been having banter with, and have a drink and so on. Probably carry on the banter. Something that doesn't happen in football. Happens in rugby. Another sport that seemed to have got it right on that side of things. So, okay, talking about tracks, What's the situation? What's going on at Bellevue? What do you reckon the odds are of them getting a match in this month? This month being May, the next month.
Looking at the forecast, I think very small.
Mm.
To be honest,
Is it because it not being ready? Or
No, that had problems
It
with.
does-
with
it seems interesting that the problem seems to be in the same bit of the track,
Right.
the third and fourth bend. Now you wonder whether there's something wrong with the land actually that they built it on. I know it was flat land, but whether it was
Somebody has told me. I don't want to drop any names here, so we'll leave it at that. Somebody has told me that the real problem is actually underneath the track, what they put underneath the base,
Yeah.
under the shale. That is actually where the real problem lies, and possibly all the way around the track.
yeah. I mean, Bellevue have had a lot of criticism, to be honest.
They
I
didn't
think
build the track.
I think their PR's not been very good, but I don't think much of this is down to them. I think where they've let themselves down is over some of the PR stuff and
Mhm.
letting, even though they knew that there was a problem on the opening night, they decided to
Yeah, that
let
was
everybody in,
yeah.
which was bad for Speedway,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially with such a lot of publicity and the fact that so much hype and anticipation surrounding the new Bellevue stadium.
And a shame also because they seem to have a half decent team this year. And
It
they've
can't be
been
doing their finances much good because they're having big away wins and they're not getting any home income
No.
to balance it out.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
But I believe they're going to try again this weekend to have another meeting. But looking at the forecast over the Easter period, it's not particularly great. I know it rains all the time in Manchester, but which isn't ideal if you're a speedway promoter. But all being well, they can get something there. Probably, I think the chances are it's going to be a Bellevue Colts meeting, which is going to be quite low key, and that's probably what Bellevue need, to be honest, to start
Yes.
there, just to get a couple of low key meetings in
Get it
first,
sorted, yeah.
then maybe have then get an elite league meeting, or because you've got to remember it's less than 100 days now before the World Cup,
Of course.
and of course before
the
then,
European Cup, you mean? And then there's Rio as well, isn't there?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then of course there's the British final, which is now at Bellevue, which is going to be.
Oh, sorry, you're
in-
talking about World Cup Speedway.
Speedway
and I'm
World Cup.
thinking European Cup, the
Yeah.
football,
Football, yeah, Speedway World Cup.
and the
because it's less than 100 days now before that
Yeah.
World Cup race off.
of course, because the Elite League closes down over that,
yeah.
and
Beginning to wonder whether maybe Kings Lynn might be put on standby to have it back there. They've got to start making.
they've got to be on standby.
They'll
but
have to
already,
be. They will have to be
surely,
now. They'll have to
surely.
be. They can't afford to, if there's any doubt that there's going to be problems with the track, then they can't afford to stage it there. But hopefully they'll sort it out. But we seem to be saying this a lot, and it's not happening.
No. Well, it's got to the point now where actually it was funny at first, and
I feel for Bellevue. I
Yeah.
feel for Chris Morton and Dave Gordon because
Yeah.
they put so much work into getting that place ready.
Absolutely.
And so many people have doubted that they'd get it right, that they'd get it as well. People were saying, "Oh, it'll never happen. They'll stay at the Greyhound track."
Yeah, and it did
They've
happen.
got this wonderful new arena, and obviously I've not been there, but it's a wonderful stadium. It looks the shape of the track looks fantastic. I think once they've got it right, I think it's got the potential to be a really, really good racetrack.
based on the old Hyde Park Road track,
Yeah.
as I understand, which I know your dad, as you've mentioned before, didn't rate it that much, but most people seem to.
Well, I never saw it, unfortunately. So, but
Shucks.
yeah, but hopefully they'll get it right, and we'll get some speedway there very soon.
Fingers crossed. I'd like to stay on Elite League topics for a moment, if I may. I'm just going to have to clear my throat, excuse me. Okay. And looking at the format of the Elite League, their race format, their 15 heats, the way it's done, and this business of if they're average enough, they actually can go into the main body of the team, the fast track riders. It's all a bit, I don't know, it's like you're throwing them to the dogs a little bit, because they've been getting decent, good averages by being in that reserve protected position in the Elite League, because of the way the format is in the Elite League. They don't go up against heat leaders, they go up against reserves and second strings, which gives them a false high average, or potentially gives them a falsely high average, and then all of a sudden they're in a heat leader position. How do you
In fairness, though, if you're talking about riders who've been in the fast track position for maybe 2-3 years. You know, they're not going to learn by just riding against the National League riders in
Absolutely,
the Elite League.
I totally agree with that, and I've got no problem with them going into the main body of the team. My problem is that they've got this falsely high average. That if the system was how it was before, as far as the heat format is concerned, they might get a decent high average, but it would put them in a second string position perhaps. Some of these are going into heat leader positions. I think there's a couple have gone into as a number one, hasn't there? That can't be right.
Probably there needs to be an assessment on converting the average from a fast track rider when they go into the main body of the team. Some of them, you know, you've got riders like Paul Stark and Carl Newman who've done it for a couple of years now. They should be able to be reasonable standard in the second string position. Carl Howarth as well, of course, shouldn't really be a fast track rider.
And of course,
you've
got riders like Adam Ellis who, I mean, he beat Freddie Lindgren the other night. I don't know whether you saw that. Well, obviously you would have seen that. So it you know, it's worked for him, presumably, but it's the other side of the coin as well, because all of a sudden you've got heat leaders in that reserve position, possibly going up against fast track riders.
I mean, I think the format needs to be looked at. To be honest, I think the format is wrong. I think a lot of the top riders don't like it because they're, you know, I think one, I can't remember which rider it was, but one of the top riders in the Elite League did say that they didn't like the format because every single hit they're going out against another top rider, so it's pretty relentless.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I think they do need to have a good review of that format.
And it's not
in the winter.
As a match is concerned, it's not an even match, is it? It's the same riders up against the same riders all the time. So you're not getting a true view of which team is better.
I didn't think there was anything particularly wrong with the old format, to be honest.
No.
I think it's the old adage of if it's not broke, why?
Well, it was this business of bringing the fast track riders in and protecting them, and then saying that they had to stop at reserve, which made sense. That sort of did make sense. But now that
although should it be two fast track riders, or should it be one fast track rider?
One fast track rider, in my
For
opinion.
me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it should also be the same in the Premier League. They should have their own fast track.
I think so, but
system.
the bottom line is the Premier League ain't having it.
I
I don't agree with. I think the Premier League should embrace it, to be honest. But
Premier League has perhaps the biggest amount of power in Speedway at the moment, and so can do things like that.
I mean, I think certainly riders like Adam Ellis should be riding in the Premier League and not being a fast track bully and a National League bully.
He's not, but he got unbeat the other day. Did you see that? So that was, he's not unbeatable in this league.
Yeah,
but it's about what's good. In a way, it's about what's good for British Speedway as opposed to particular tracks. And we need these riders getting into the Elite League. We need these riders competing on a world stage, because that brings success breeds success. And that also brings us print in newspapers and on television, in local television, and you know, and that's what Speedway so desperately needs.
It needs a successful National League team, national squad. Having a world, obviously, Ty Wolfton's obviously had a lot of press coverage in the last couple of years through being world champion, but you could say the same thing when Mark Loran won it in 2000. And I remember even back to when Gary Havelock won it in 92. Everybody said, it'll be the kickstart Speedo needs. Never really happened.
No, it's not on the back of anything. It's not. It's just because it's a solitary success. Yeah. It sort of highlights the rest of the unsuccess, if that's ever a word.
Yeah,
You just made that up,
I think I did. Yeah, but that's okay. English language is great like that.
And just quickly, a good evening to ELO.
Hello, Ella. How are you doing?
Greetings.
So we're sort of in agreement really that the format, I didn't quite think it through.
it was a bodge job really for Vehicle,
yeah.
So just rushed it through and hope for the best.
Yeah. So I guess they thought, we need to get the fast track riders into the main body of the team, but didn't look at the consequences of doing that, which have been interesting this week, as some of those riders have got averages. So shall we talk about Birmingham Speedway now? I think I've
Go on, then,
put this off long enough, haven't I?
No.
We've beaten 2 teams away from home by reasonably big margins.
One may be a surprise, do you think?
Rye House, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
Possibly.
I didn't mean Buxton.
Or Stoke even, because
Buxton, Stoke, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see when we go there in the league. Whether we've got our full team for that one, and how the full team sort of serves different. Because obviously we had a ringer in place of Zach. But we know that Zach didn't ride Rye House very well last year,
And it's not Tom Perry's favourite track.
and it's certainly
I
not
don't
Tom Perry's favourite track.
think. Although Tom Perry at the moment probably would do better than...
Tom, well, yeah, we'll have a chat about Tom in a moment, because he's definitely having the season of his. It's going to be the number one, but when the new averages come out, although the trophy doesn't count towards the averages,
Yeah.
that's going to be a while before the new averages come out. Which is to our advantage, keeping Jack Smith and JPB
Yep.
at the bottom. So that's good. Yeah. So the Rye House was sort of a surprise, but sort of wasn't, because we knew what we got in those riders that we got to replace them.
In fairness, it was, bearing in mind the lead from the first leg, it was a fairly...
It was
fairly obvious Birmingham were going to get through anyway.
Yeah.
So, barring a complete catastrophe.
well, which happens occasionally, of course. But
Well, it happened in 2007, didn't it, in the Premier Trophy semi-final, involving the same 2 clubs.
yes, yeah.
So,
I mean that's interesting, isn't it? Actually, we will talk about that actually, because Birmingham have never won a final since 2007. Never won a final. We've been in a few.
don't want to be the bridesmaids anymore.
Oh, I'm fed up of losing that fight. Probably, if we're all honest, the chief reason why we don't like playoff systems, because we've never won one of them. I mean, 2007 was awful because we had so many injuries at the end of the season. We only had 2 riders actually members of the team in the team.
I think you said that we'd injured almost 2 teams.
That was the next year. That was 2008.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get anywhere near a trophy that year. We was lucky not to win the wooden spoon that year. But we did have those first 2 years were marred by injuries.
Considering that 2008 team was such a strong side as well at the start of the season.
Yeah, wasn't it? It was. This is why I don't get carried away at the start of the season now, because that we all turned up at press and practice saying, "Oh, we're going to win this year," and because look at this team, there's nobody going to touch us.
Yeah.
And nobody would have touched it if we had stayed fit. But that's the
I've
big thing about Speedway.
I've learned the hard way. I learned the hard way in '93 about not being too confident.
Don't count your chickens is what
Yeah,
is the saying. Yeah. So okay, we'll go over the 2 matches. I went to Stoke, looking for their improvements at the ground. Well, I can't tell you what the improvements were. They've moved the viewing area back, so you're not as close to the track anymore, and you can't actually see the track from there because they've banked it up. There's like soil going up to the top.
Is the
fence
puddle
and
still in
stuff.
the centre green?
I didn't see a puddle. So maybe that was it.
That's probably one of the reasons why Sky don't go there.
I don't know what was the matter with the track. It was the first and second corner was dry, and everybody coming into the third corner, they were very, very tentative going into the third corner. So I'm not quite sure, and it wasn't, and the third and fourth corner wasn't dry, it wasn't dusty, so there was, they were different. But yeah, people were tentative going into that third bend. Not many people attacked that, so I don't quite know what was going on with that. But an interesting match, because we thought at the beginning, well, we're being given a match here, because we'd get a 5-1 and then they'd get a 5-1 and then we'd get a 5-1.
What was the crowd like? I can imagine there were plenty of Birmingham fans.
There was they were more, from what I could see anyway, there were more Birmingham fans than there were Stoke fans. Although I did go and buy some chips at one point and went inside, and there was a lot more in the bar area and stuff. So
What are the chips like?
They're sort of these long things.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's weird, isn't it?
I thought they were really short.
They weren't.
Stoke
They
are
weren't.
very famous for their chips.
Are they really? They weren't the best that I've tasted in my
Oh,
life.
right, okay.
Possibly because I had an argument with the lady behind the till.
Oh,
we
it's
won't.
probably spat on it. Yeah.
We won't. We won't talk about that.
Okay.
But then I think that our riders about halfway through the match started working the track out and so on, and pulled away. It was so it was nice to be in a match for the first half of the of the match, and then it was all Birmingham really. So forgot the best one. Who is the worst you have ever seen? This is Allo asking the question.
Yeah.
Oh, who would you
Wasn't it
say?
Brummie rider?
Okay, who would you say is the best Brummies rider you have ever seen, and who is the best rider you have ever seen?
And then he says, forget the best one. Who's the worst you've ever seen?
Okay,
We've had that question before, haven't we?
we will answer that. I don't know how many Birmingham riders you've seen, Matt. So
Only since 2007.
okay, so who's the best Birmingham rider you've ever seen?
Crystal Casper. No, not Crystal. You've probably got to say Jason Lyons, haven't you? So,
I would have been surprised if you hadn't said Jason
I think
Lyons.
since 2007, Jason Lyons.
Yeah.
Best Brummie rider for me is probably Hans Nielsen. I don't think you can argue with that, really.
well, I mean,
that
I know he achieved his success after he left Birmingham.
Yeah, but he was still. He was almost unbeatable around Perry Bar. He really was. I think he finished one season on an 11-point average. So that's.
Well, he would be when he had the one season at Oxford. I think it was 86, where he had a 12-point average away from home.
Right. So.
And this wasn't a week. It wasn't a week in top flight like it is now. Then.
Yeah.
So
it's, well, good rider. I obviously, I'm going to speak for your dad now because I know which rider he would say, and that would be Graham Warren.
Yeah.
I would expect. And that's certainly the one that my dad would say. Everybody goes about how great Graham Warren was. It's a shame there's no footage of him, really, isn't there?
Is it not at all? No,
There's odd bits, snippets, but they
I'm
don't.
sure I saw a little bit.
Yeah, they don't sort of give you the
No.
flavour of what he was like.
Lots of photographs.
oh yeah.
Loads of photographs.
Who's the best rider I have ever seen? The one that
Definitely
impressed
not Matt.
the one that impressed me the most, and this is going to be quite controversial for obvious reasons, was Kenny Carter.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I thought when I saw him, he took my breath away the first time I saw him down riding against the Brummies. Although Andy Graham did beat him that night, it was one hell of a match. My favourite rider was always Andy Graham. So yeah, there you go. What about you, young man?
Strange that you say Carter and that one, because I think people who don't know about Speedway, there's certain names, isn't there, in Speedway that think, oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that.
Well,
bloke,
he's very
but,
infamous for what happened with it.
Yeah.
With him. And we won't, let's not go into that.
I mean, the one regret I've got is that I never saw Kelly Moran ride. Well, I saw Kelly Moran ride,
Moran,
but he was
oh,
not in his prime. I saw him riding when he was at Swindon in his last season, and he was well past his best by then, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
he
I'd
was
have loved to
special.
have seen him riding in his
He
prime.
did throw some shapes on that bike.
Sadly, died not long ago.
That's right, yeah, about a year.
2 years, maybe.
years,
About
something
2
like that,
years
yeah.
now, yeah.
I mean, obviously I saw Sean Moran ride quite a few times, and again, Sean Moran, probably, I would argue from their records, slightly the better of the two. Probably the more consistent of the two as well, but I think Kelly had that sort of aura about him.
Oh,
didn't
he was typical American of the time, really.
And I've got to say, obviously the best rider I've seen has got to be Sam Malenko.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic rider, and privileged enough to see him riding when he was in his prime as well.
Yeah.
So,
what about Chris? What was the best rider you've ever seen, do you think?
Well, see, you're probably looking at something in the 80s, so probably, I don't know, probably Warren as well. Not Warren, probably Graham as well. Yeah, they'd probably stick him in
Graham?
The brothers.
Oh, the Graham, okay, yeah, Andy Graham. Yeah, I mean, that that it was great having those guys.
That was really my era.
You'd see them filling up the petrol station.
I thought he was going to risk saying Bruce Pennell.
No, don't worry about that. No. They're still quite associated.
Who was the worst you have ever seen? Well, I mean, I suppose that really
Do you want to
depends.
admit it?
It really depends what you mean by worst.
Have you ever rode a bike, Dad?
No, not a speedway bike anyway. I've got a brain.
And apparently some fear.
Do you know what? I'm going to say Bjarne Pedersen. just because of his attitude when he rode for Birmingham as our number one rider.
But he's not a bad rider.
No,
No,
not bad rider at all. But
yeah, but that's not the question. Who was the worst rider you've ever seen? And
worst rider or biggest disappointment? Would you say?
Well, it certainly was the biggest disappointment. I can't really think of anybody else.
For Birmingham, the ones I've seen, I would probably say Matteo Carpenese.
Well, yes, he
I
wasn't.
don't think he ever scored a point, did he?
No, he didn't. And you could be horrible and say Harvey Banks. You could, from last year as well.
Yeah.
But I still think that lad's got something that he could score points in the National League.
Worst rider I've seen. I've seen a few candidates. I know that. Probably from a Wolves perspective, probably the biggest disappointment for me was probably Neil Evans when he came back to Wolverhampton in the mid-90s, because he'd had a really good season at Sheffield in the second division the year before, and
very different track.
Everybody was expecting him to do in fairness, he'd had a lot of bad injuries at this stage of his career. He was past his best by then, and his knee couldn't cope with the tight turns at Wolverhampton. But it was a massive disappointment. I think we signed him on a 6-point average, and he ended up on just over a 3.
Wasn't he one time Brummie's rider as well?
Neil Evans, he rode for, but he was Birmingham. Well, he is a Brummer. He comes from Birmingham,
ex-British champion, of course.
Not when he was riding for Birmingham, unfortunately. But famously joined Birmingham when he was underage and lied about his age.
Oh, right.
So he rode a few meetings for us, and then they stopped him until he was the right age, which was I think a couple of weeks away.
That's I think yesterday, isn't it?
I think probably a lot of Wolves fans who remember him would probably say Jerzy Kowalski, the polar row for the club in the 70s.
Okay.
I think the famous story I heard about him was that he was sacked after about 3 matches because he didn't score a point, and he said that it was the club's fault because they'd given him a rubbish bike, and apparently Bruce Cribb tested the bike and offered to buy it because it was better than his own. So
another one that comes to mind is Mark Cherry, who came over, American rider from California, who came over with lots and lots of hype about he's going to be the next Bruce Pennell, which of course every American rider that ever came over was always going to be the next Bruce Pennell. Was always going to be the next Bruce Pennell.
In terms of acting, I hope. So.
Oh, God.
Oh, of course, didn't he went to a cop thing.
Chips.
Of course, he was in Chips.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I watched a film once. I'm digressing now, but I watched this film.
The film once as well.
I was watching this film
Several.
with a girlfriend at the time, and she brought this film. She says, "We'll watch this. He's got motorbikes in it. I know you'll like it." Okay. you don't say no, do you? So we watched it, and it was a horror film, and it was a pretty dire horror film. But occasionally, in this horror film, this guy on a bike would come over and do a few tricks and then cycle off. No particular reason for this guy but doing this. There was no reason to do it. Anyway, at one point you saw him and it was Bruce Pennell.
So what you're telling me is it was a horror film because of how bad it was scary.
I'm just saying it was rubbish, basically.
Well, because Bruce Pennell was in it.
It was rubbish because it was a rubbish film, and because not a lot happened at the end of it, as far as my girlfriend was concerned at the time. But anyway, that's for another day. Who is the best of the new crop of riders out there who makes you think he will be a star one day?
This question's tailored for you, isn't it? So I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say.
Well, what do you think?
It's probably the one that's gone. Probably the one that's signed for
Lakeside.
Yeah.
You mean Zach?
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't gone. He's still.
No,
there.
but he's not riding for the Brummies.
Well, I'm wondering what Matt's going to say, because I think he might say the same as me. What?
You're just going to copy him now, aren't you?
No, I'll write it down if you want me to.
Is this Brummies riders?
It doesn't say Brummies riders. Any rider. It doesn't say Brummies riders.
Out of the new crop.
I think it's fairly obvious.
Robert Lambert.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. I think,
Gotta be.
Yeah, he's incredible. How old is he now?
17, 18 years of age.
He's beating Elite League heat leaders from behind. You know, I mean, he is phenomenal. And it gives us hope for the World Cup and things like that, doesn't it?
I would probably say Craig Bubba Cook as well, but unfortunately, because of his age, he's a late developer, isn't he?
Yeah.
If he was sort of...
Didn't hold John Louis back, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, I mean, if Craig Cook was sort of 5-10 years younger, you'd be really excited about it.
So when do you rate Parker Blackburn in that crop then?
Well,
Long way to go.
I think he's an exciting rider. I mean, he's 15.
15,
Yeah.
You know, you got to say he's an exciting rider. He looks safe on that bike. He looks exciting on that bike. He knows what he's doing. I mean, he's already had a couple of Heat 15s for us this year. It's only 15.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
ridiculous.
But can I just say, no matter how good, how promising the rider looks, there's always the possibility of an injury.
Of course, yeah. You don't know, and you see riders that
Yeah.
you think are going to be future world champions, and then they just. I mean, Kenny Carter would probably.
Per Jonsson
Yeah.
was another one. I mean, he did become world champion, but he would have definitely won more world titles had he not had his back injury.
Yeah, so you just don't know. You just don't know. But you know, he is an exciting rider. I think potentially better than Zach Vitanek. How exciting is that? Two riders.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how exciting is this team this year with all these young riders and all potentially good riders?
Yeah.
You know that.
I think the exciting thing for me as well is that they're all British riders,
Yes. Yeah.
which is important for British Speedway.
I
as
mean,
well.
we've done it right this year for the National League Birmingham. I think we've
Yeah.
done it right. We've got young riders.
For me, it's what the National League's all about.
The only problem is that new thing about us might not being able to hold on to any asset.
I think that's the thing that will probably force us into the Premier League. I think it's
I would
almost.
to be, I mean, well, my views on the Premier League are quite well known. I think there's so many problems in the Premier League. I'd stay away from it if I was Birmingham. But unfortunately, if they want to get the assets, then they will have to.
Yeah, that's the problem, because what the Premier League and I don't know this, so you know, this is a guess. People, please don't take me to court. My guess is it's that this thing about the assets has been sort of powered by the Premier League, because they're seeing themselves not getting assets, because they've been squeezed out of the assets a little bit, I think. Well, now they can, you know, although they didn't get Zach. Yeah, so
Well, when we're with the Premier League, I mean, people say, you know, it's the best of the three leagues. Well, the crowds are still poor. A lot of these places in the Premier League.
I think what would be perfect for Birmingham is if we could find somewhere in the West Midlands, Tamworth, because they used to have a speedway team, somewhere where we could open another speedway team to run in the National League while we're in the Premier League, and then they can.
As a feeder.
As a
type.
Well,
feeder
Bellevue,
club, yeah.
I mean, Bellevue are doing that, aren't they, with the Colts? And of course, they did that
but
years,
I don't
years
think we
ago,
can
so-
do it. I don't think we can do
Tamworth
it as
did
our
that,
track,
yeah.
you see, because of the things that are in place that wouldn't allow it. Plus the fact I'm not sure how well supported a National League team would be if we have a Premier League team. I'm not. Yes. Whereas if you took it somewhere else, it's got a better chance of picking up that support. You'd also get Birmingham support. Some Birmingham supporters going to it as well.
Yeah.
If it was close
Tamworth. I mean, my dad's always said Borsley Green would have been ideal for a training track.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that it's in a rough area of the city, so
Yeah. Well.
and it got such a bad press when the Brummies were there in the 80s.
Yeah. But it was.
Although in
rough
fairness,
track.
the place probably wasn't anywhere near ready when Birmingham moved in. But
It was never ready. It was never finished. The place had never.
I've been there since. It
Really?
doesn't look like it's improved much.
No.
So Ialo says, regards your question, best Brummies rider.
No,
Lord Stan says, Carl, I beg your pardon, has to be Phil Hearn. Phil Hearn was certainly a fantastic racer.
He did. Well, he was in second division or National League as it was then, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
He
did
did have a season
yeah,
with the Brummies in the top flight,
yeah,
didn't he?
He did. He went to Bristol.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't let us into the top flight. We won the league in '74, I think was the first time. I've probably got that wrong, somebody will tell me. And so he was ready to go up, because he was just beating everybody by miles by that point. So he went to Bristol, I think it was, with Crumpy.
Real Crump, yeah.
Yeah, Phil Crump, on a sand track. They had a year of a sand track instead of a shale track, because you could run it.
Didn't have planning
when it was
permission
wet.
either, did they? I don't think.
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely
Bristol,
sure.
so.
they beat quite a few teams at home and didn't do so well away from home. And then he came and signed for us. I had a couple of seasons, I think, before he went back home. So, and yeah, did okay.
Billy
did
Sanders
okay.
right for the Brummies for a bit.
Billy Sanders, oh gosh, wow. You're opening old wounds now.
Yeah, well, sorry about that.
He signed for us from Ipswich and was doing pretty well. We were happy with him. Then all of a sudden he went back to Ipswich mid-season.
Yeah.
And we never really quite got to the bottom of that. I don't think Birmingham as a club had much say in it. And I don't know whether that was anything to do with the cause of the rift between
John Berry and the late John Berry, of course, and the late
Joe
Thurler.
Thurler. Yeah, I don't know because nobody does know what.
Because they were very good friends at one point, weren't they? And
Oh, well,
Sunday. Just,
yeah, well, they ran Ipswich together.
Yeah.
And then they started running Birmingham together, but
And
Joe
Stan says
Moore
that-
Birmingham.
Stan says that Hearn went to Newport.
It was Newport, was it?
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'll believe you.
What were Tamworth called? Were they Tigers or something? Or what was they?
Tamworth.
Weren't they?
Terriers, was it something
I
like that?
don't know, but I bet
I'm
you,
gonna
I
have to
bet you,
Google
Lord,
that,
I bet you,
yeah.
Lord Stan will know that.
I'm
I
sure
bet
he
you,
will,
Lord
yeah,
Stan
yeah.
will know, and I bet you've.
I'd done a piece on it, so I should know myself. But
I tell you what, we should do. We've got 10 minutes to go, guys, and we haven't spoke about any of the matches that are going on tonight.
No.
And there's only one match going on tonight, which is Ipswich versus Somerset, which has obviously got a bit of Brummy interest in, with Darryl Richins riding for Ipswich and Zach riding for.
Plus, of course, there's the first Grand Prix on Saturday as well, so that's something else probably to touch on very briefly as well. So
I forgot about that. Yeah.
on BT Sport.
Okay, well, I'll just go through the scores on here
Yep,
for
sure.
you. Ipswich 31, Somerset 35. Close meeting. Darryl Richins has got 2 from 3 rides, and Zach Vitanek has got 1 from 3 rides. So another Brummy interest in that match, of course, would be Nico Cavati, who's had a 3, a 4, and a fallen exclusion. Ouch. That's why they're behind, obviously. And Danny King is unbeaten after 3 rides. So there you go.
the Hounds, apparently.
The Tamworth Hounds, we've just found out. Yeah, well
Looking at
googled.
that programme there,
Googled.
Tamworth v Yarmouth. That's
Wow.
Oh, I know, look at those. We've actually got that in our gallery as well.
Have we?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there's a few of them we've got. So yeah, fascinating.
That's Tamworth Speedway in red and yellow there.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure when they ran 50s, was it 50s, 60s?
Yeah, 30s started in the 30s.
30s as
Yeah,
well,
first experience speedway racing in 1932. The venue was at Marlow.
so there's a bit of history there. So
Yeah.
You were at the first meeting, weren't you?
oh,
Then they became the Tammies, according to
Tammies.
Stan, and he must know.
All right.
Yeah,
okay. The Tammies, the Brummies and the Tammies.
interesting.
There's some sort of logic in all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first GP.
The return to Warsaw after last year,
of
of course.
Yes.
And we're having our own little Warsaw, of course, in Manchester at the moment, so which has been running on for what seems like an ever.
You would hope that there isn't a return to Warsaw in the state of the track.
Well, it got a lot of bad publicity, Warsaw, but the bottom line is that the place is sold out again, so
Yeah.
people are obviously still want to go there. It's a fabulous arena. If they can get the track right, it can be a brilliant.
It's difficult to say.
venue. It's
isn't
difficult
it?
to say because it was such a disaster last
Yeah.
year and such a big disappointment. And the thing that really spoiled it from last season was it was Thomas Gobb's farewell to the GPs that
Yeah.
he'd been involved with since it started and had produced so many wonderful memories and
Yes.
some brilliant racing.
Yeah.
And I always felt he deserved a much better exit from the GPs than that. But that's
Yeah.
going over old
I
ground.
can't
So-
disagree with that. So, but obviously the obvious question is who's favourite to win? And
Well,
Warsaw?
you've got to go for Ty again, haven't you?
I guess it's difficult to say, isn't it? Because
He hasn't.
there's no real form, no
Well,
real.
we haven't really seen. Well, obviously because with Ty not riding in the UK now, you've really got to go on sort of hearsay with form. But you've got to look at the usual suspects. You've got to look at Ty.
Could this be a year too far for Greg Hancock?
I'm so reluctant to say because I've said it before and he's come back and proved me wrong.
That's why I'm trying to get you on record as saying.
I'm wondering whether Greg Hancock will still be riding in the JPs when he's 50.
Do you know, I wouldn't surprise me if that's actually his target.
This is it. So
It'd be something to go for, wouldn't it?
yeah, I mean, Steve Davis carried on playing snooker well into his 50s and was still.
There is a slight
pretty
difference
good.
between
No,
the two
no, fair
sports.
enough. But I know there is. I mean, people say Hancock had a poor season last year, but he still finished. Still finished as
in top,
runner-up.
yeah.
You can never write Nicky Penson off.
Of course.
He's always a danger in more ways than one.
What about somebody like Jason Doyle? As an outside
He was
bet.
superb last season in
Wasn't he?
GPs, and
He's not had such a great start to the season, has he?
Well, no, there is that, yeah, but I mean, he'll obviously take a lot of confidence from what he did last season.
Although he's had a start to the season, some of these other riders
Yeah.
weren't.
I think he would have been a good bet to win in Melbourne at the end of last year if it hadn't been for that awful
Yeah.
smack in the final.
I wonder where you was going with that smack there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Ty's the man to beat, isn't he? Looking to become
He's the one with the target on his back.
become the first British rider to win 3 World Championships would be a tremendous achievement.
It would be.
Um,
Of course, there's this argument going on at the moment. Is how British is he? Is it just a flag of convenience?
I've got to be honest. I mean, I'm a big Ty fan, as you know. Obviously,
Of
I've been an
course.
X-Balls rider, but
I'm only putting that out there as devil's advocate. To be
I'm
honest.
disappointed that he's not riding in the British Championship. I fully support him not riding in the Elite League because I think he's doing it for the right reasons. I would argue, I mean, he rode in the Elite League when he was world champion in 2014, and I would argue that he got injured right before, wasn't it? Probably cost him the world title.
Yeah.
So I support him on that. I don't really support him riding in the British Championship. I think I know there's the argument that a lot of the Australian riders didn't or don't ride in the Australian Championship, but that's a long way away.
That's a slightly different situation, isn't it? Yeah.
So, but yeah, you've got to go for Ty. Hancock, I think, will be, as I say, I'm reluctant to write him off because he's been written off so many times before. You can't rule Nicky Penson out. Matty Zagar possibly needs to be a little bit more consistent if he wants to get.
Yeah, he might
nearer.
he might be another one where it's gone past him a little bit. What about the new crop of riders that are coming this year?
Well, obviously the one that sticks out for me has got to be Pavlichka, of course. Ex-Wolves rider, was such a revelation at Wolves. Such a shame that it ended on such a sour note, really. But I mean, to be fair, both the Pavlichki brothers are really good talents. I don't think he can win it, Piotr Pavlichki, but I think he could definitely
Do you think he
stop
could be
somebody
a
else from
future
doing
winner?
it. He could be a future. There's no doubt for me he could be a future winner at all.
I might have this wrong. I'm sure he's Schmarzlik in there this year.
Yep, Smoslik.
So
He's done well in GPs.
Yeah.
Of course, ex Birmingham. For
For
about
2 meetings, I think.
Yeah. Another exciting young talent. Done well. Be interesting to see how he gets on some of the tracks not in Poland, because obviously he's only GP before he's been on the Polish tracks and Polish tracks that he knows well. So
Some of the indoor tracks, really.
see places like Cardiff and Horsens, how he's going to cope there. But I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I know there's a lot of people disappointed that they're not going to be able to see because it's on BT Sport now.
Sports,
But that's up to the GP owners what they want to do. They want to sell to the best bidder.
Well, I'm not even sure that Sky were that interested in it, and Eurosport, I'm not sure that they actually paid an awful lot for it.
I still think Sky must have been kicking themselves at the fact that they missed out on seeing
Ty
Ty
become-
with it. Yeah,
well.
that was a shame, really, but it was just
I
circumstances.
think the thing with BT is that
They've got the money at the end of the day.
well, yeah, it's also good for the sport because if we're doing it's when we come to the round of asking for more, please Sky, will you sponsor us again, please,
Yeah.
which is not a very strong position, is it?
That's right.
Now perhaps we can be saying, well, do you want to sponsor us or not, because BT are knocking on our door.
BT, this is one thing that Sky have dominated satellite television for so many years, haven't they, in terms of sports coverage, but they've got a major rival now in BT Sport who they've got money to burn, they can throw money into it.
That
whenever they
potentially is good for Speedway.
want. Adding all sorts of sports to their portfolio, so I think certainly BT, I don't know whether they'd be interested in the Elite League as it is at the moment. That's the only thing.
This was the question that I was sort of coming towards, where I think, as I understand it, when we have negotiated with Sky, they get all 3 leagues. They don't show all three leagues. They show the Elite League, the occasional Premier League match. Never touch the National League. You go to the Football League. They don't negotiate all of the leagues. Premier League negotiates their own deal with Sky, and then Championship are with Channel 5. I think Channel 4. I can't remember now. Yeah,
Channel 5. Yeah.
Which really shouldn't they be doing the similar thing in Speedway, saying, "Yep, we'll negotiate for the Elite League if that's what you want, but we'll go with Joe Bloggs here for the Premier League," or I mean.
I think the problem, of course, is that you've got representatives on the BSBA who are affiliated to all three leagues, aren't they? So that's really the issue. I must admit, obviously having a Sky meeting, Sky doing a National League meeting, it would be a bit daft if they did a crowded meeting where the presenter's the chairman of the club, and it wouldn't be any self-interest there, would there?
Yeah, well, maybe not. I've got to be honest, actually. Excuse me. As far as we're talking about Nigel Pearson, of course, I think he's quite fair in his coverage. I don't think I've ever heard him go over the top or say anything much about Cradley when he's been on. I've heard him say a couple of times about Birmingham.
He always mentions it with the fact that Greg Ankle wrote for Cradley, doesn't he? GP pretty much every sentence. So it's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I've heard him mention Birmingham, for instance, on a more than the odd occasion. So that's not necessarily a problem.
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah. So anyway, we are coming up to the end of our broadcast. I can't believe it. We never even touched on. Sorry, we can't finish now.
I'm sorry, the music started.
No. I need a quick prediction. Birmingham, the very, very two important matches coming up at home. Kent Kings followed by Eastbourne. Our probable rivals in the league. So Birmingham versus Kent. Give me a prediction.
Birmingham by 6.
As tight as that? Yeah, I think you're right as well. I think it's going to be a very tight match. I think it could even go to a last 8 decider.
Yeah.
Birmingham versus Eastbourne.
Birmingham by Birmingham. I think that'll weaken Eastbourne.
Yeah.
Birmingham by 9-10 points.
10 points. Okay, and Wolverhampton, they've got some matches coming up.
2 matches against Poole.
Home and away.
Home win, but I think narrow away defeat.
Okay,
maybe get a point. Okay. Maybe get a point.
Okay, and Bjarni Pedersen to score.
Not really bothered to be
honest. Okay, fair enough. Okay, and we'd love to do this. I know Cradley got some matches coming up as well, but unfortunately we've run out of time. I'm sure we'll be talking about them next week on the Speedway Tavern. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.